can't really see your face.
That's okay. It's okay. So here is the website for this week. Okay. It is found normally where you can find everything. Week 6 already. And we're going to be talking about art as communication. And specifically through the lens of prehistoric art. Something a little interesting. I have a resources section for you. So this is less like a blog and more like a bigger project landing page, which will make more sense once you guys actually start making your websites. Okay? So here's the presentation. Down here is the printed version that you have in front of you. Okay? So if you need to print your own copy, please download it from here. Print it that way. Okay? This is something new I'm trying during lecture. It's really hard to make this time back up. So last period, we just did a video chat so people could have videoed in, but no one knew this was an option, so no one videoed in. Plus, everything was backwards. So once I get a video cam set up, this will be the preferred method, but what I'm gonna do is take this video, hopefully this one records the whole way through, and I'll put it on YouTube. Okay, if you miss one of these lectures, you have to watch a video recording. There's just no other way around it. Okay? Yeah, and then this is just a challenge extension if you want it. I like to use the word enriching. That's what colleges use for courses that they create that just enrich your life, but maybe don't have course credits. So that's why I chose that term. So this has extra resources on it, extra information. This is not required, but very valuable, so I wanted to put it on the website. Okay, since I found it, I thought I'd share it with you. It's up to you what you do with it. Under those resources, then we will have what you were more used to from the first few weeks of school, our daily objectives. And we'll have this kind of like in a blog format. So Tuesday will be up here again on top, and then Thursday, and then Friday. Okay? So we already arrived. I'm going to let you know that this individual activity is just going to be moved to tomorrow, but that's okay. So without further ado, we are going to begin our Birth of Art lecture. Okay? Cool. I will let you know that you need to write something down on the lines, right? So you guys have these lines. So when we write something based on what's up here, you write it on the lines here. I'm gonna write it over here. Okay? So it'll make sense once we actually get started. Okay. So, somebody please, to help me save my voice, go ahead and read what this says. Jack, thank you.
Me? The project gives my students the opportunity to understand and appreciate the power of visual arts to tell stories, communicate ideas, and promote understanding in the world around us.
Okay, great. We skipped a few things, like the birth of art. Okay, and then what we're doing is taking a deeper look into prehistoric art and communication. On this slide, please write down rationale. And this is where you have those little lines right next to it. Okay, so you're going to write rationale. How many of you actually know what a rationale is? What does the word mean? Yeah, go ahead, Jack. What do you think?
The logic or rationality behind something. So basically the reasoning for it.
The logic, the reasoning. In fact, that's perfect. I like that exactly. Okay? The logic, please write this. If I'm writing, you're writing. The logic or reasoning, which is the word I originally chose, but I'm adding Jack's term. Okay, the logic or the reasoning for doing something. students want to know why they are doing something. They want to know why. And your students, you're spending almost 8 hours a day here. You should know why you're doing things. Sometimes teachers want to tell you right off the bat, but sometimes they intentionally hold back. Or maybe through advocacy, you could remind them to make that more clear to you, right? Ashley Caruth always does this. She always adds a rationale, and that helps. It helps to know why. So with your highlighter, please highlight visual art to tell stories, communicate ideas, and promote understanding of the world around us. So that last half, visual arts all the way to the period. Please highlight that. Now, we've got to break down some preconceived knowledge. Okay? So we've got a very Hollywood-esque image in front of us too, right? We've got one that's really old, black and white. I don't know what this movie is from. Prehistoric something. Maybe Tarzan, I'm not sure. But it's an old film, okay? Putting some stereotyping in there with some loincloths, right? Very powerful pose, okay? Classic Hollywood. All right, then we've got 10,000 BC. How many of you have seen this film? It's on Netflix. Okay? If you want to watch it, I did link it to Netflix. Obviously, it's not going to let you hack into my account, but if you have it, it's a direct link to it. Okay? I want you to ask yourself, fact or fiction? How often is what we're looking at in Hollywood, and why do we talk about Hollywood so much in this class? Let's take a step back. Right? Because we talked about Hollywood last class with that Adobe. Why do we talk about Hollywood in this class? Maybe. Give me a guess.
Because Hollywood makes everything kind of unrealistic and fake. And
Okay.
Going over how to do that, make it.
Right. To get a certain tone across or a message across, right? They might need to use stereotypes, or they might need to embellish to make the story more exciting for you to follow along. We're going to learn video in here. We're going to put videos together. Hopefully you're going to have one at the video exhibition, right? So we are going to be using this technology to visually communicate. But I bash it occasionally enough so we remember where we are in real life. Okay? All right. Cave art. This is what we're going to be focusing on. You do not need to write anything for this slide. Just simply take it in. Notice my font. We're going to come back to font. Okay. Essential questions. Please make sure that you are on this slide, because this is where I ask you to grow up a little bit. This is where I ask you to not be so passive, or to not be so arrogant in studying art history that preference should take over. So here's what I want you to write. What do I want you to write? I want you to think more deeply as artists. Think more deeply as artists. Here's where you gotta grow up a little bit. Oh my geez, that one didn't want to work at all. I need blue. Are we ready?
Do we write that down?
Just do green.
Can you see it? Uh-huh. Oh.
And everything fell apart. We were doing so well. We'll go back to this part. Okay?
Oh shit, this
Oh,
is
it's recording.
It's a tree.
It's fine,
My
I'm probably
stick
kidding.
figure version.
do some editing.
Okay? To think more deeply as artists. When it comes to art, you are writing this down. Okay? You need to challenge what you like or prefer what you like versus what actually constitutes as art. What you like, personal preference. Me, I. What you like versus what actually constitutes as art. In order to have this conversation, you have to open up your mind to this idea. You've got to open it up, or you're gonna get stuck, right? I may not go out and buy this background painting and hang it on my wall, because I don't prefer this type of art. I'm more of a pop artist. Roy Lichtenstein back there, the blonde cartoon girl in the far left corner. Roy Lichtenstein, right? Pop art. That's more of a personal preference. But I can't discuss the two compared to each other, cave art versus pop art, without acknowledging the second essential question. How does context affect works of art? And why would context matter when interpreting art? It's so not artist of you to say something like, my 5-year-old sister could do that. Not unless your 5-year-old sister understands the reasoning why those artists did that, right? And then even more carefully, we've got to be careful about cultural sensitivity, especially because we're going to be looking in our own backyard. Mesa Verde, okay? There are some things that are culturally taboo in the Native American culture that Western civilization may not even think twice about. So there's that. And then how does that actually affect or impact works of art? How does that impact how we talk about works of art? How does that impact how we create art? How does it impact? And do we need to be culturally sensitive? Okay? Okay, beautiful. All right. 21st century skills covered. These things we're going to be going over, right? Lecture, PowerPoint, note taking. This is important. You do need to know how to take notes. Unless you go to a project-based college, you need to know how to take notes. I right now am rereading Emerson, which is incredibly hard to get through, but it's about this idea of transcendentalism and about nature. And I can't just read that book passively. I'm annotating it, I'm writing in the book. Oh yeah, because I own it. I'm highlighting, I'm writing questions in there. I'm starting to think, Jack, one of the quotes in there said, only a fool plays in nature. And as a mountain bike person and a hiker, I have to wonder if Emerson was right in that statement. But I never would have thought to think that if I wasn't annotating. Okay, so this is important. Note taking. We're going to work on sketching. As a project-based school, you are going to be asked to show what you're learning, to show what you're taking away. And it's my job as your 9th grade digital art teacher to help you figure out your process. Is it easier for you when your teacher tells you to get down your ideas to open up a sketchbook and start sketching? Or does that terrify you? Is it easier for you to hop onto the computer and get into Illustrator or Photoshop to start communicating that way? Or is it a combination of both? Maybe you want to start in the sketchbook, but you want to take your sketches into Illustrator and you want to digitally enhance them. This project is going to help you figure that out. No matter what you end up with, I hope you can help figure out your process. Okay? You might end up with something like this. This is my art piece. But I didn't just draw this from my head. I'm not born with that kind of talent. I have to use my resources. I had to look up and go find those books that teach you how to draw things step by step. And that's okay. That's using your resources. That's not cheating. Okay? Okay. So, one thing I wish my history teachers would have done better for me in high school was not teach so literally. When we talked about cave art, I thought that we were talking about the cave art that was specifically in France. And I didn't think people were anywhere else. But this map shows that while we're going to be focusing on France and Spain, because of accessibility to these caves, we know the most about these caves. I want you to see that all over the world, where humans are starting to become deep thinking creatures, it's happening at the same time. And it's happening everywhere. Okay? We're going to be looking at very specific examples, but that doesn't mean that stuff's not happening in other places. Okay? So that's just my own little vent, because my teachers didn't tell me that. Okay? Oh, on this slide, we have something to write.
I know, me too.
We have something to write on this slide. Are you guys ready? Okay.
Oh shit, here we go.
Humankind, for our general purposes here today, Zane brought up some really good points about this. His mind is spinning with this knowledge I threw at him today. Humankind originated in Africa. This is also joining the blue one on the floor. They're gonna spend some time together in the trash can. Okay? So humankind originates in Africa. Here's why. Evidence. Nope, sorry, earliest. This is why I have notes, because I teach this and I forget what I say sometimes. This is the earliest, please write this on the lines of the slide. This is the earliest evidence, this is gonna get tricky, of human recognition. I'm gonna highlight that in a different color. I can't actually highlight it, so I'm gonna underline it in a different color. If I were you, I would do something to remember this word, or this phrase. Earliest evidence of human recognition of abstract images in the natural environment. This is a little tricky, but let's break it down. So in Africa, we have evidence that humans were recognizing abstract images in the environment that they were in. So how many of you have looked at the moon recently, over the past few days? Who's in the moon right now? What's the saying? What do we say about full moons?
Oh,
The man in the moon.
Or the rabbit on the moon.
Is the moon a man's face? Like literally?
No.
No.
Could be.
But here's what you were doing. You were making this connection that our ancestors started doing thousands of years ago. Human recognition. You are recognizing that face-like abstract image in the moon, and we even have a phrase, the man in the moon.
Interpretation.
Now this one's a little weirder, so just go with me and see if this is your experience. When I sit down to a toilet that I've never been into before, okay, this could be somewhere that maybe has a really cool texture or pattern on the floor, or maybe the way, I know Max, hang with me, or maybe the way that the texture on the wall is. Does anyone else see faces?
Oh, in like shapes and stuff.
In shapes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So that's the same thing. You are recognizing a face with an abstract image. That's huge. This is a breaking point for humans. Before we did that, we were solely animalistic. Animalistic. Okay? This is where I like to identify as humankind. When we separate from our animalistic behavior and we start thinking more deeply. Okay, beautiful. Could I get a time check, please?
It's 3:14.
Okay, wonderful. So here's some interesting facts. What does that say? Someone go ahead and read that.
The earliest form of art is found in caves, but with all that darkness, how could they see?
Lighting via animal.
Fire.
Maya.
So as humans, since we started recognizing, and what was the word you used, Jack? You said something with an I? Interpreting. We started designing. We've always been designers. Okay? Even our early humans. Early humans are designers. Inventors. Creators. In the dark caves where we needed to live, from shelter, from other tribes, from wild animals. Remember okay?
Haven't we always made them?
Not like this. This was more of our style so that we could carry it easier in a cave, right? Like this has a better design for what we're doing. This is trendy. It works, but it's not designed as well for like, you know, going through a dark cave and navigating, right? Okay, cool. I think that's all I wanted you to write for this slide. Tools were relied on for everything. So you can just write right under this one. I'm not going to erase that, okay? Nothing went to waste. Nothing was wasted. Okay? Utilization is key at this point. Bones from the kill, right? Because we were meat eaters. Bones were shaped for our general purposes here. Shaped, carved, banged, shaped, okay? Bones were shaped into tools. If you look closely, this one up here is resembling a needle. What goes with a needle?
Thread.
Thread. If you have a needle and thread, what are you using it for?
Sewing.
Sewing. So we're designing clothes too for a need. Either because it's cold or we're starting to realize that maybe we shouldn't be running around naked, or maybe we should be, but it's too cold. Right? I don't know. But we've become fashion designers to fit a need. Right? Fashion designers. Right? And this isn't like so they can go have a runway on Project Runway.
New York Fashion Week.
Right? New York Fashion Week.
Like just
It's
the
to fit the basic necessity. Right? It's to fit the basic necessity. Being alive. Warmth. Shelter from your body from the elements. Right? Great. We're going to leave with this animation today. We're not quite done. want you to think about this joke. Okay.
Damn, kids are not graffiti.
We're gonna pick up with this. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pick up with this tomorrow. Okay? But what I want you to do now, okay, is I want you to think about this question. Do humans still need to communicate visually? Okay? So if I pause this,
culture and flavor to it.
we are going to stop on slide 10 for today. Okay? So you guys can go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you.